Mr. Jackson. Okay, so obviously I've introduced myself. We put our emails in here. You can easily find those on our website. Our assistant principals have changed a bit, so if you've been with us, we have now shifted them to grade levels. Because as we are expanding, if you are familiar with our campus, we're actually building an annex, and we're moving all of our freshmen out to the annex. We're hoping by Thanksgiving, could be Christmas. But we needed to have a principal out there. So Mr. Stinson is our 9th grade principal, so he'll be transitioning out to the annex. So Mr. Bourne is our 12th grade principal, and he's here tonight. If you have questions for him, at any point he'll be here, and then you can also email with him. So if something is going on with your student, he's your first point of contact. If there's discipline or things, you would hear from him. And then I gave you our counselors. You go to the next slide. And these are their pictures. They're still divided by alphabet. So you can easily find your child's last name. Their email addresses are also on our website, also in this PowerPoint, which will be easy to access. We have some support people in our building in case you're not familiar. We have a social worker, and you can see Sarah Curtis. So she's actually served several schools, but she's housed here at Summit, and she's here the majority of the time. She helps families connections with outside resources. So if something's going on in your family with your student, she can definitely be of help. So you can contact her. You can also go through your school counselor if you can't remember who it was, and they can get in contact with Sarah. And then Mr. Wilbur, Glenn Wilbur, he's our STARS counselor. So he works with students sometimes that are in crisis, maybe students who need kind of a frequent check-in for some social emotional things. He's here every day. And then we have Abby Skelton. So we actually have a therapist. It's through STARS. She's a licensed therapist, and she provides therapy for some of our students weekly, and it's in the school building. To be able to get into that program, you have to have had some sort of barrier outside of school. Again, you would go through a school counselor. We would help set that up for you. And then Kelly Stewart, new position. In our district, we have a 504 coordinator. So if your student happens to have a 504, you know what that is. She's working with our 504s, but seniors are still with their school counselors, and so you would actually have your updated meeting with your school counselor. But Kelly is a great resource as well. All right, how we communicate with you. So you probably get my daily email. That includes the 11th hour, which is our newsletter. If you keep scrolling to the bottom, there's a calendar that updates all of our dates. So anytime anybody wants to use our building, like for example, we have a choir concert tomorrow night, that's in my calendar. So if you're like, I wonder when this is at Summit, scroll down, you're likely to find it there. Also, we will use that Blackboard that you get the text messages from, which is an awesome feature. So if we send you a text, definitely check the email that comes with it. We don't do a lot of phone calling. I know sometimes in middle school you probably got a lot of phone calls. If I call you, it's usually at the beginning of a semester or something. But most of us, including myself, a lot of times I decline that call and I just read the email. So read the email. Also, our senior newsletter, we sent out our first one. Those will be quarterly. Lots of information in there. Things about scholarship, deadlines, where to find things. That comes out from the counseling office. Our school website is very helpful. There's a lot on there, so if you're having trouble finding something, definitely let us know. But you can definitely check there. If you're not into a whole lot of social media, if you can do Twitter, that's a good place to get information. I gave you the 3 main sites that you should follow. One is obviously the school one, which I update. I've become not so great at athletic events. Well, Twitter, just busy. But Danny does our athletic Twitter, and then we have a new one. It's called a Spartan Clubhouse, and so they're doing a lot of our advertisements. There's flyers for games and activities. They're going to do a lot of advertisements when it comes to homecoming that's coming up, so that's another good one to start following. And it's all student run. That one is. They're producing the graphics, producing the videos, doing the marketing for certain things, interviewing people. So that's a great avenue that we've developed this year. And then, of course, Skyward. Skyward is what goes to the transcript. So please check Skyward. When your student says, a teacher just hasn't put in that grade, more than likely that's not true. So please check that. Schoology is not the up-to-date end-all be-all. That is a student platform. Check Skyward. Questions, email the teacher. They'd rather hear from you, get questions from you, but Skyward, that's the finale of what goes on the transcript of the semester break. So check Skyward. Attendance, and I'll try to be brief on this. So obviously we want your child at school every single day. That's the best instruction they can get, the best information. The language over the years on on what you can miss and not miss has changed a little bit. What it boils down to is you have 8 days. That's at the end of 8 days, you have to have a medical note, a funeral notice, or a college visit in order for it to be excused. So in the first 8, if you send a parent note and say, my child's towed her, fine, excused. If you forgot to send a note, that's number 2. Took him to the doctor, that's 3. I could go to 8, doesn't matter what the reasons are. After 8, it has to be medical, college, or a funeral notice. That's the only way to get him excused at that point. That is an all-year thing. So if your child has already missed 9 days, every absence from here until May has to be a medical note, funeral notice, or college visit. Questions about that, Mr. Bourne, or myself, or the attendance secretary can help. At 5 unexcused, hopefully you never get to that point, Mr. Bourne will be calling you, setting up a meeting we call the Tier 1 attendance meeting, trying to help you figure out why your student's absent, what supports can we put in place to make sure they're at school. Because the more they're out, the farther behind they get. Schoology is great, but you can't take assessments from home. You just get further and further behind, and so we want to make sure that they're supported. If you need your child to check out, by 7:50 that note has to come in. Unless they're a student who is dual enrollment in the morning, or they're online and they don't come in until second period, obviously they would turn it in when they first get there. But if they're in a first period class in our building at 7:50, that note to leave has to be turned in. We don't take faxes, emails, or phone calls for those dismissal notes. Got to have them in writing, and then we'll give them a note and then they'll leave during the day. If for some reason you forgot, just send somebody on the pickup list to attendance and they'll check them out for you. But make sure those notes get in. Just in regards to tomorrow, ACT, they have a permission slip they should have gotten through English teachers. I also have emailed it home, I emailed it to them. That has to be signed and turned in by 7:50, and they can leave after the ACT, and it will not count against their days. But if you do not bring in the note, or they don't turn it in for 7:50, it could be unexcused. Okay, exam exemption, this is a big deal. This is what they've all been waiting for, all 4 years. They've been working towards this. So this is kind of where the confusion sometimes sets in with absences. Remember that 8 absence days, right? That's year long. So remember, exemptions though are semester by semester. So in order to be exempt, there has to be no U's or W's on any of their periods. So I could be a student who gets exempt from first, but not from 7th, because I still have U's and W's, 7th period. So you have to have no U's and W's every period, and you must have an A average. And I need to change that to a 90. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Our grading skill change. I'm sure Ms. Monroe will cover that. They also cannot have had in-school suspension or alternative school. So those exemptions, if they don't get exempt, let's say your student missed for the flu, they missed because they have strep throat all in the first semester, they've passed their 8s, there's a 9 and 10 absence that happens and you didn't have a medical note, it's fine. It just won't be excused, therefore they won't be exempt if they haven't yet. But they could still gain their exemptions for second semester as long as all of their absences were excused. Clear as mud, right? Your students get it. Just a reminder about homeroom, if you've been with us, we've been doing this a couple of years. It is part of our 4th period class. Our 4th period is 12 minutes extra. We do this at the very beginning. We do Summit View on Mondays and Fridays. That's our news show that's produced by students. You can watch that on YouTube. It's a great activity that our media students take part in and produce and do the interviews and such. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do ACT practice, and we've been doing that with your seniors this whole time. So they've had a lot of ACT practice if they took that seriously. Mr. Jackson produces it. He's going to tell you a little bit about what that looked like. But we've been doing that. We will continue to do that. And then on Wednesdays, we do either a counseling lesson or a social-emotional advisory type lesson. All those can be previewed in Schoology. Just have your student pull it up and you can look at it. The ones for Wednesdays are always put in the Tuesday before by noon, so you can preview that. If you have questions or concerns about it, you can let us know. They're pretty basic. Sometimes they're get to know you stuff, talking about sometimes like suicide prevention, things like that, but you can always preview those if you have questions. Tardies, this is another thing. It's probably one of our most dealt with discipline, but that's late to class. If they're late to class, a tardy, but basically we give them 4 freebies to every class. At the 4th one, they're doing a lunch detention, and then after that, it starts the access process. Eventually, we'll meet with you and talk. Every time your child gets an in-school suspension, you'll get a phone call from Mr. Bourne, and he will let you know. Now, remember, if they get in school, they also can't be exempt from their exams. So they're all rushing to get in school every day. And then we reset those at semester, so they'll get another opportunity come second semester. These are just some discipline, just things that are, things that may happen in a high school. It's pretty generic. It's also on our website. So you can see how that happens if your student gets involved in something. I will tell you so far, I'm going to knock on wood, but this senior class has been exceptional since school started. We were talking about that today, we really haven't had hardly any discipline at all with our seniors. Seem very sweet, settled, and doing a great job in the school and leading the school climate at this point. So if your student gets into some trouble, definitely reach out. Mr. Bourne will be reaching out. If it happens to be that another assistant principal had picked it up, they'll also reach out. But you can review these. There's very kind of limited discipline that happens. So it's lunch detention, in-school suspension, could be alternative school. Those are our major offenses. Vaping would be a long stint in ISS. That's your in-school suspension. Drugs, alcohol, obviously, is ALC. But you can read through those on your own. And if you have questions, let us know. This is still the same. We figure by the time they're seniors, they have figured out lunch. They are pretty settled. They clean up after themselves for the most part. They go to their teachers when they need help. So just keep encouraging them to do that. We're trying to get them ready for post-secondary. No one's going to be saying, hey, go to the math tutor. They're going to have to find that in their post-secondary options. So we want them to continue to, now teachers will still require some of them, hey, you missed this test, come meet me at lunch, you'll make that up, or hey, you didn't understand this lesson today, I could tell you need to come in. But for the most part, we're trying to promote independence and them seeking out the help. We have a math tutor available 5 days a week, every day, all day. Their math teachers are really great about doing remediation at lunch. All of our teachers post their office hours, so if they're available 3 to 4 days a week, whatever it is, the students should be aware of what that process is. So at this point, hopefully you're just encouraging them, hey, your math grade looks low, how can you get help at school? Not really need to hire a whole lot of outside tutoring because we have those tutors available every day, all day here at school. Alright, so these are important dates, and it might be hard to read, and again, I'm going to send this to you, but there's definitely some important ones. Obviously, we're doing the senior ACT, so this is the last one we'll provide for them. They did not have to sign up. No cost to you. We've got Mr. Bourne's got them divided into rooms in the upper B hallway. It is a real ACT test, so their scores will be valid, can be sent to post-secondary, so that's happening tomorrow. They opened up the FAFSA window this weekend, so I'm sure Ms. Monroe will touch on that, but that is open as well as the Tennessee Promise window. We have a senior makeup for pictures, so if you, and we'll cover that in a second, but if you have not gotten your Life Touch picture done for seniors, the makeup that you can just do at school, which is only the formal shot, is coming up in October. And so we'll send some information as that gets closer. Homecoming, we know it's late. We just had a stint of 5 road games recently. But all information is being posted to schools. You have sent a couple emails with basic information. The float sites, I'm not going to post those publicly in my emails, but they'll be in the student Schoology just to kind of protect where the students are going to be. But encourage your seniors to get involved because this is the last one. But they are, I know they're preparing for Powder Puff, the float sites, and we're having a dance. We haven't had a dance in a while, which will be semi-formal. Lots of HOCO presentations need to be happening. So. Deadline for Tennessee Promise is November 1st, so Ms. Monroe will cover that if you're not sure what that is, but make sure, we encourage every senior to sign up for Tennessee Promise. Even if your first #1 plan is you're going to Harvard, still sign up for Tennessee Promise. We learned lots from COVID, but the #1 thing we learned is plans can change. So just make sure it's an easy application process, it's not merit-based, it's not need-based, it's not grade-based, it's not really based on anything but following a couple steps. So take care of that, it's very simple. I gave you the semester exam dates. That Tennessee Promise meeting is earlier than usual. Usually it's in the spring, but that's one of the checklist items for that scholarship, so make sure you attend that. March 1st is when you have to finish the FAFSA. Everyone should do that, and you have to do it for the Tennessee Promise. On March 7th, the juniors are taking the real ACT here. That day, your seniors can be off campus. So they can do a shadow day, they can do community service that day if they need to, they can go to a college visit if they still haven't settled on where they're going. So I want you to have that on your calendar so that if they want to do a shadow day, they can start reaching out to people and have that set up. It's an all-day situation. Everybody else is taking ACT. They get to have a day to do that. April 15th is prom. It will be in Nashville. We'll start releasing information. We're going to sell tickets pretty early, so we'll get that information. We'll do GoFan tickets again. May starts our AP testing, which will be off campus. So if your student takes an advanced placement class, we'll do that at the church. We did it up last year. The baccalaureate service is at Thompson Station on May 21st. That is our church service for graduates. It's student-led. They do wear their cap and gowns. It's not mandatory, but it is offered for the whole class. May 18th through the 23rd. Seniors take the exams 2 days earlier than everyone else. So be prepared for those dates. The PTSO, they were handing out QR codes. If you're not part of Team 23, one of the rewards is the Dave & Buster's trip. So we bus all seniors that have signed up for this to Dave & Buster's. It's 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. They get cards, money on them. They have 4 or 5 buffets of food all night long. And then we bring them back to school at 2 a.m. and send them back to you. And then we require them to be here at 9 a.m. the next morning for practice. They love that. And my assistant principals really love that. Because we have to work still. So, and then we bring them back for practice. We'll have a breakfast. So if you haven't been able to volunteer much, that's a great time for you to volunteer. That last breakfast, because you can kind of see them one time with their friends and out on the field and get a sneak peek of what the setup looks like. So that will be happening at practice. And then graduation itself is here at 7 o'clock on the 26th. And I'll get into a little bit more info about that. So it's at the football field. Of course, it's amazing, beautiful. It'll be the first one on our turf, unless it rains. So go ahead and cross your fingers, dot your I's, whatever you have to do to make it fine. But I gave you rain dates, so that way if you're planning parties and stuff, you know what that looks like. Our last resort is to come inside. If we come inside, it's limited on tickets. Outside, no tickets. Bring everybody you want to bring. Basically, if you've never been to one of ours, there's people standing everywhere. No one is allowed on the track, but you can bring chairs if you want and set it up outside. You can sit in the bleachers. We'll open up both sets of bleachers on both sides. It is a very crowded situation, but it is beautiful outside at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. Gave you the baccalaureate again. One thing, I think we're still getting a couple of emails. Students last year forgot to ask for their final transcript. We don't automatically send your final transcripts because some of you, we won't know exactly where you're going. You have to request that. You can do this anytime, but at the end, you must do it and mark final transcripts. So just be aware, I gave you the address, it's on our website. So right now, you're applying to colleges and you need your transcript sent, you still go to the same place. But just be aware, and we'll send 1,000 reminders. At the very end of school, we send them the first week of June, everywhere you want us to send it as that final time. So just make sure that, because we'll get calls in the fall, my senior never got their transcript. We didn't request it. We didn't know they were there. So just make sure that gets done. Matt is outside his group, and it's $100. That's our graduation fee. That covers the gowns, the cap, the diploma cover, and the tassel. We take care of the rest with graduation, but if you will get that all squared away, I'll tell you how to order and how that works and what the deadline for that is. So we do not rank anymore in Livingston County, so we will have Val and Sal speeches. It's possible we'll have multiples of that. Just depends on how that shakes out towards the end. We don't notify them until about the last couple of days of school because we got to let final grades transpire. So they'll write speeches. Depending on how many we have is how we do the speeches. So far, since this has been occurring, we've had all Val's speak, and Sal's, we've had just recognitions of them because last year we had 7 Sal's. So we don't want to sit necessarily through 7 of those speeches. We have 1 keynote speaker. We let the class vote on that, so they'll vote on somebody on our staff to speak for 3 to 4 minutes, just giving an address And then we also allow the class to vote on 2 name readers. So some of you may have graduated somewhere where like the principal or the counselors maybe read names. We allow the class to pick 2 teachers that are special to them to read their names as they cross the stage. So that'll be happening in spring, the voting. Senior pictures is what I was talking about. You have to go through this company to do the formal pick to be in the yearbook. If you don't care that your student's in the yearbook, you don't necessarily have to do that. We'd like for them all to be pictured. We will do that makeup here at school, but that's only the formal. If you set it up and go to their studio, you can also get some casuals as part of your package. So just make sure you go to that website, set up your appointment. But again, those makeup dates that are here, but that has to be done by November 15th. That means taken, gotten back, and selected. They'll send you a proof of 4 or 5. You got to pick one to go in your book. Otherwise, they choose for you. May not be the best. The dress at graduation for the graduates is a formal attire. So dresses, skirts, nice slacks. You can wear a shirt and tie. No tennis shoes, no flip-flops. Formal type shoes. Remember that we're going to be outside. Now the turf won't be as big a deal as the grass and dirt were, but just we'll go over this with students as well. But I know that shopping may start to occur early. And then we'll get more into this as we get closer, but I know sometimes in college they decorate caps. We don't do that in high school, so just keep that in mind as you're getting your caps in. We will, once all the gown orders have come in, we pass those out at school. They usually don't come in until about the first week of April, and so we'll get those out to students. They'll bring them home, we'll make a big deal out of it, take pictures and that sort of thing. Again, no tickets are required. Bring as many people as you'd like. And we'll keep working that schedule. Hopefully Friday night, the 26th at 7 o'clock will happen. That's what we're hoping for. But just keep in mind the rain situation. This is the flyer. I've sent this out already, and I will continue to send this out, but this is how you order. You can also order out here tonight. They have lots of the senior gear if you want to pick anything up as part of it. Obviously you have to order the cap and gown because we have them all look the same. It's done by height and weight, so make sure you take care of that. I gave you the deadline. That's Matt Burton's email. He can help you if you have any questions. He will send out the announcement link, or I will send it out. But if you want the formal type Summit High School with our crest announcements, that will go live January 9th. So I'll be sending that flyer to order as well. You can also obviously do your own if you'd like, but if you want the formal crest announcements, we'll be sending that information out in January. So yearbooks are on sale. You guys get this link first. You can go ahead and order your yearbook. Usually if you've not ordered one, you want this last one. Again, this is going out to you. There's a senior ad. If you'd like to put an ad in the yearbook for your senior, a lot of times parents do that as pictures and whatnot. Again, not mandatory, but if you want to do that, they have a format you have to do it in. And so that's the link for that. And I'll keep sending it out. All right, so Team 23 we talked about, but you're going to get, if you signed up, let's say your sophomore year and you didn't do it your junior year, you forgot, you still have to do it your senior year. You have to pay every year for it. And for your senior year, this is the one that get extra rewards. They get the yard sign. We'll give those out early May. It's got their name. It says class of 2023, Summit High School on it. Put that in your yard. And then entrance to that Dave & Buster's party. So there'll be a deadline eventually as we get closer. But if you want those items for your senior, you have to sign up. That's through PTSO. And they're giving out rewards this week. They want me to remind you to remind your student, because last time they had a lot left over. So they do that in the Commons, so encourage your seniors to be checking for that.
Hey everyone, my name is Mia Monroe, and I'm one of the school counselors. I work with students. Last name's HJ with MN. I'm going to be super honest. I don't like microphones, so this is a little out of my comfort zone. And I also want to say I don't know if my eyes watering or I'm crying because I am also a parent of a senior, so we are in this together. It actually could be both, so forgive me for that. Okay, so right now, as school counselors, we are in the middle of talking with your students about what are their post-secondary plans. We are having what we call a senior minute meeting. If you ask any senior that I've talked to so far, it is not actually a minute meeting, it's more like a 10+ minute meeting, just to kind of gauge where they're at in their post-secondary planning. There is a link up here to some videos that the district has put out that's amazing, that answer some questions. So I would encourage you, if you have some free time, check out those videos. They are super helpful So we did, as school counselors, go in to all the senior classrooms and meet with them during their English classes. We also went into the students that have dual enrollment classes here on our campus. Those students that have an English class that is not on our campus, the information was provided to them through Schoology, and I believe that was also sent out in one of Ms. Lamb's parent emails. But honestly, I'm going to go over the bulk of that with you here tonight as well. So as a senior, your student gets 2 college visits that are excused. I do believe they have to bring back something signed from the admissions counselor or someone there that you all talked with in order for it to be excused. So just know that is something that can take place. I would also encourage you all, if your student is still trying to decide, to look on their website for what they call preview days. A lot of schools are currently hosting those right now on Saturday. I know Tennessee Tech and MTSU just had theirs this past Saturday. It's a great opportunity to see everything the school has to offer. They really roll out the red carpet. So if your student is still trying to decide, check out some websites to see if they've got some preview days coming up. For the second to 9 weeks, we are going to continue checking in with your seniors. These minute meetings that we're having, we're asking them questions like, what are your post-secondary plans? Are you looking at a 2-year? Are you looking at a 4-year? Where are you at in the process? And what supports do you need? And then second quarter, we're going to be circling back with those students to see what supports they need. For example, if we have a group of students that all need the same things, such as scholarship information, we're going to pull those students for a group on scholarships. If we've got a group of students that all are trying to apply to Columbia State and need help with that, we're going to have our Columbia State rep come out and help those students apply. So just know that, just depending on where your student's at in the process of all of this, there is help for them every single step of the way. Let's see. Okay, so, and I apologize if you guys can't see that real well. This has been made available to the students. This is Tennessee Public 4-Year Schools guaranteed admissions requirements. So when we talk to the students, especially if they're looking at some of the Tennessee Public 4-Year Schools, we talk to them about what's called guaranteed admissions, meaning if you have this ACT score or this GPA, the school will guarantee accept you based on those merits. There's also what's called conditional admissions. So if your student is applying to a school, please don't let this be the make or break for them applying, because schools do have different thresholds for admitting students. I will say that the 2 schools, the 2 public 4-year schools in Tennessee that do not do guaranteed admissions are UT Knoxville and the University of Memphis. All others do have guaranteed admissions. A lot of the schools have also gone back to requiring that ACT score. The very few that are still test optional are still going to want you to submit that score for scholarship purposes. So just know that that is something that has changed recently. So the Tennessee Promise. I had a great conversation with someone recently. They were like, my student's not doing this, what's the point? I'm going to be honest with you, this is not my student's plan either, but I want him to have every single door open to him and every single avenue. It is a year from now before these students leave for college. You know, any one of our families, you know, one crisis can hit, someone loses a job, something like that, something unfortunate, and plans can change. So we're encouraging all of our seniors to apply to Tennessee Promise. The way we look at it, we would rather you apply and never need it versus you did not apply and then you needed it. That is a hard deadline, and that deadline is November the 1st. If your student comes in on the morning of November the 2nd and says they want to apply, there's absolutely nothing that we can do in order to help them with that. We will start pulling seniors in. As of today, we had about 256 that applied, so that was about 56% of our senior class. We will start pulling them and asking them to apply. As it gets closer to that deadline, you will likely get telephone calls from us, personal phone calls. Hey, you know, so-and-so has not applied yet. We really want to make sure this avenue is open for them. Your student does have to have their social security number in order to apply, and that is not something that we have access to. So just know that when the time comes for us to assist them with that, if they don't have their social, we will not be able to help them with that. This is a great thing. If your student is planning on going to trade school, to your community college, you most certainly want to make sure that they apply. Again, we want everyone to apply, but if that's your student's specific plan, we need to make sure for sure that they apply. Financial aid. So a lot of us, I'm lumping myself in that, are starting to think about how is all of this going to be possible? Scholarships, that type of thing. So financial aid is money that is needed in order to help pay for college. Ms. Lamb mentioned that the FAFSA opened up on October the 4th. That is the free application for federal student aid. Lots of people do not want to fill that out because they're like, we're not going to qualify for aid, so what's the point? Your student and you have to complete the FAFSA in order to be considered for any scholarships. Almost every scholarship that colleges will offer, the FAFSA is a condition of that. It is a condition of the Tennessee Promise. It is a condition of the Hope Scholarship. So just know that is something that will have to be completed. The student has their own FSA ID, and you as a parent have your own FSA ID. I implore you to write that down. You will fill out the FAFSA every single year that your student is in college. And parents, those of you that already have a student in college, you use the same FSA ID that you have for your older students that are already there. I also do want to mention that we are going to have a financial aid night here. I actually reached out to TSAC today to try to see if we can get that on the calendar. We have a new rep for our area that just came on board, so we are still trying to get that scheduled, but we like them to come out because they can talk to you guys about the breakdown of scholarships, the breakdown of all this good stuff. So just kind of keep your eyes open for that. We'll probably hold it here in the same location, probably around the same time frame of 6 p.m. Honestly, I'm hoping to get that scheduled sometime in October, but again, that date's to be determined because we're at the mercy of someone else's schedule on that. So the Hope Scholarship. Ms. Lamb mentioned that our grading scale changed this year. We are now on a 10-point grading scale. So now 90 to 100 is an A, and so forth. That is not retroactive, so lots of people have wondered if your student's GPA is going to be recalculated based on that grading scale. That is not retroactive, so that is just beginning for this school year. Lots of students are in the midst of applying right now, and they've got questions, especially if they're using the Common App, because the Common App asks them some questions that they hadn't encountered before. When we report your student's GPA, or when your student applies and they report their GPA, we use the weighted GPA. That's the WCS GPA. Williamson County does not provide an unweighted GPA to schools, so we use our GPA. So if I'm filling out the Common App for your student, when it asks me what their GPA is, I'm putting the weighted GPA. That's also the GPA that they need to report as well. The Hope Scholarship GPA is only used to determine if your student is eligible for the Hope Scholarship. The criteria to be eligible for that, you either have to have an unweighted 3.0 GPA or a 21 on the ACT. Not both, one or the other. If your student has a 21 on the ACT, they have secured the Hope regardless of their GPA. Okay? Likewise, if they don't have that 21, but they have well above a 3.0 unweighted GPA, then they have secured that as of now too. What the Hope will get your student at any Tennessee public four-year institution, their freshman and sophomore years, it will get them $2,250. That number has gone up this year. It used to be $1,750, so that money has gone up. It will get them in a four-year school even more money their junior and senior years. There are eligibility requirements they have to continue to meet in post-secondary in order to stay eligible for that. Your student can also use Tennessee Promise if they go to a two-year school. Now, this this is where it gets confusing because folks are like, wait a minute, I thought they were using Tennessee Promise. Tennessee Promise is a last dollar scholarship. So let's say my student is going to Columbia State and he has a 21 on the ACT. Hope is going to pay first, and anything that Hope doesn't pay, Tennessee Promise will cover the remaining of that. So Tennessee Promise is a last dollar scholarship. Tennessee Promise cannot be used at most four-year institutions. Okay, so scholarships. Those of you that are kind of in the midst of this have probably noticed there's a direct correlation between ACT, GPA, and how much money schools will give your students to come there. The higher the ACT, the higher the GPA, the more money they're going to give to your student. That's why we stress the ACT considerably. So just know that. Your student has access to the Williamson County Schools scholarship list, and you all also have access to that on the district's website. The one that your student has access to is a link that is constantly updated. I do not know how often they're updating the one on the district's website. Have your student log into Schoology. They can go to the SHS counseling tile, and you can pull that up and look at that together. It has links that go straight to the scholarship so that they can see what they may be eligible for and so they can apply. I will tell you, watch carefully on deadlines. Most scholarships have their own deadline, so I can't even really tell you like, hey, check this date or check that date. I will say, you know, December the 1st seems to be a hot number for some scholarships. So if your student is searching for scholarships, please pay attention to dates and deadlines. Okay, so graduation recognition. So Williamson County offers several different options for recognition at graduation. As Ms. Lamb said, we do not rank students. So one of the questions on the Common App that catches students up sometimes is, what is your rank? Williamson County does not rank. We use the Latin honor system. So if your student has a 4.25 weighted GPA or higher, they qualify for summa cum laude. If they have a 4.0 to a 4.24, they qualify for magna cum laude. And then if they have a 3.75 to a 3.99, they qualify for cum laude. I will tell you this, we check that all the way up until like 2 days before graduation, so that when that is printed in the book, in the graduation book, it is absolutely as accurate as it can be, because some students will be 0.01 away from going up or down. So just know that we are very diligent about checking that. For Williamson County Honors Diploma, your student has to have a 3.75 GPA or higher. They have to have 14 honors and AP credits, and they have to have a 4th science. The honors diploma is a sticker that is put on their diploma, and then they are also recognized in the graduation program for that. The Tennessee Honors Diploma, they meet all the ACT college readiness benchmarks. So ACT has some college readiness benchmarks. If your student hit all those numbers, they automatically qualify for Tennessee Honors. Again, these are all things that we check, triple check, double check. We ask the students to double check behind us so that we can ensure it's as accurate as possible. There's also a volunteerism diploma. Your student has to do 10 hours of community service, per semester. I was about to say 20 per year. It is 20 per year. They have to do 10 hours of community service per semester, so that would be a total of 20 per year in order to be eligible for the honors diploma, the volunteerism diploma. There is a Google Sheet that they record their hours on. So you may want to go ahead and encourage your student, hey, have you been recording your hours for the volunteerism diploma? Let's see. I do want to just say super quickly on the valedictorian and salutatorian. There is an application process for that. We talk to the students about that. We encourage them if we think that they are a candidate for it. There is certain criteria that all the students have to meet in order to be eligible. The final deciding factor, if we've got 3 students that are seniors and they all meet the same criteria, and one of them has a 36 and the other 2 have a 35, the 36 will be the valedictorian. The ACT score is no longer the only deciding factor, but it is the deciding breaking factor if there's a tie. If we've got 3 students that are eligible, they all meet the same eligibility, and they all 3 have a 36, then we've got 3 valedictorians. Same thing with the salutatorian. If we have 1 36 and 3 35s, I think you get where I'm saying here. So we encourage the students, if we see they've got 36s, 35s, 34s, hey, go ahead and apply, because there may be some students that don't want to go through the process. So we do try to encourage your students to do that. If you know that applies to your student, you may want to go ahead and start having those conversations about that. All right, without further ado, Mr. Jackson, you are up.
What's up, y'all? Unlike Miss Monroe, I should be kept away from the microphone. And it's only for the recording that I'm going to talk into it. It's good to see everybody. Like Miss Monroe, I'm going to be honest, I looked around, I got a little misty-eyed. These are my kids. Oh my goodness gracious, I can't believe they're seniors. I am not going to keep you for super long, because my session with the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors was more just like, hey, here's why the ACT matters, and here's all the stuff that we do. By now, I think most of you know why the ACT matters. And really, this is what I'm going to say to you instead. What time is it? Your seniors need to be in bed in about an hour and a half. Why do they need to be in bed in an hour and a half? Because they're taking the ACT tomorrow. Also, healthy, proteinous breakfast tomorrow morning, please and thank you. Also, I tried to tell them all that they don't need to be on their phones after 9 p.m. tonight until after the test tomorrow. So good luck on that one. In all seriousness, it has been an absolute joy to see these seniors grow in the extent to which they take the ACT seriously. It's been a joy to watch them grow in terms of just their overall maturity as well. I do want to talk very briefly about like what we're still doing to get students ready for the ACT. So this is the situation that everybody's in the room right now. Everybody's in a different situation. That's the problem, right? Because there are going to be some students who are going to schools where the ACT score that you submit with your application is the last one that's going to matter, and they're not accepting anything late, right? So this might be the very last ACT that's going to count for them. Or maybe if they signed up for Saturday, October 22nd, that would count, right? Some schools are going to keep accepting ACT scores through the Saturday date in December, where you can sign up to take it in December. And then some schools will continue upgrading your scholarship. In fact, the Hope Scholarship will continue to accept all the way through some next summer dates, right? So it really does vary based on like what your student's current score is, what kind of schools they're applying to, what kind of scholarships they're applying to. So I'm going to be really broad with this right now, and then if you have individual questions for me afterward, just come up and ask me. I'm going to be up here. You can come up and talk to me afterward. I'll take any questions you have, and then your students can also come find me as well. I'm happy to help them as well. Here are the prep opportunities that students still have. So in terms of what we do in classes for seniors, that's pretty much wrapped up as of today. Today was pretty much the last day of that in classes for seniors. But there are a few things that we're still doing. I will be doing my little videos called Get Your Act Together, ACT, get it? It's funny. I'm going to be doing those videos twice a week for the entire school year. And I have seniors who, and now starting after fall break, seniors will have an opportunity when they complete the homeroom tasks. They will have an opportunity to opt into or opt out of the ACT practice. And every year, I have at least 2 or 3 seniors who keep doing that ACT practice in May, they are still doing that ACT practice, which I love, right? So they will continue to have that opportunity. I'm hoping that a lot of seniors take advantage of that, because that's literally just a way to keep your brain on the ACT when it's trying to be pulled in 1,600 different directions. That's a big one. Another one is that before a lot of the Saturday dates, I will continue to do ACT boot camps. So I will be doing after-school boot camps before the December, February, and April dates. It's typically the Monday through Thursday afternoons before the Saturday test date. And I will also be doing one in March, although that's right before the junior test day here in school, so juniors will get first priority to sit at that one. But I will continue to do boot camps. A lot of students find the boot camps helpful because it helps refresh them on strategies that they learned in ACT review a year ago and then forgot, or something like that. Also, I didn't put this up there, but I have almost 80, 90 seniors in ACT review right now, and we'll, of course, keep hitting that ACT grind hard all the way through December when they move on to a different course for the second semester. The last thing is almost everybody in this room has at some point in time taken a test in Analyze Ed, practice ACT and Analyze Ed, and that is just a place to get extra ACT practice in addition to what you can pick up from me. I also have practice packets in my classroom. I have 2 full-length tests that a student can come by my classroom and pick up anytime. Lately, a lot of students have been picking them up. I'm having to make new copies all the time. All right, I have one more slide. So, really all that you need to be doing right now is research on what it is that your kid needs based on what it is that they want to do. And if you're completely lost on that, you are not alone. I am more than happy to help your kid do that research. I am more than happy to help guide them in the direction of it or sit down and do it with them. I'm happy to answer your emails about it. It really is going to be based on what they're going to do. Like I said, Hope is going to accept scores. The best wisdom that I could find on the website seems like you can continue to submit scores for the Hope Scholarship all the way until September 1st of next year, which means all the way through the July test of next summer. That said, I was looking at MTSU and UTK the other day, right? MTSU, for example, has it set up where in order to qualify for their automatic scholarships, like you get a 26 and you get this money, and you get a 30 and you get this money, you have to have your ACT scores in no later than the December date. However, they introduce a slightly lower level of new scholarships for students who get their ACT scores later, right? So you may have gotten $5,000 a year for a 30 before, and now you'll get $3,500. You know what I'm saying? And so it might still be worth it because you might still be able to up the scholarship. UTK, on the other hand, for their competitive scholarships, you have to have your score in by December. But for their automatic scholarships, they're going to continue accepting all the way through June, right? So it really is about you all going and doing that research for yourself and with support if you need it. Also, if you decide that continuing to prepare for and take the ACT is in the best interest of your child, which is going to be the case for a lot of them, to at least take it in December, right? You go to www.act.org. Your student, if they've taken the ACT and WCS, which if they haven't yet, they are tomorrow, they have an ACT.org account already that is just waiting to be set up, right? So all you have to do is go to that account if you haven't logged into it already, finish the steps to create the account, and then you can sign up for a Saturday date. It should be the student's personal email that's used preferably because that way they can keep accessing it after they're no longer a WCS student. Sometimes that's helpful. Also, I cannot stress this enough. There are so many parents who really, really desperately want everything for their child, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And they go to the ACT website and they want to sign up for the ACT, and they see that ACT plus writing, and they're like, oh, it's just another $30. I'm just going to go ahead and sign up. Don't do it. The ACT plus writing is highway robbery. It is a racket. It is the ACT organization trying to get your money. There are all of approximately 6 schools in the nation that now require the ACT plus writing, and over half of them are liberal arts colleges in rural Michigan and Minnesota. So unless your child has a particular desire to go to the cold north of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, you really shouldn't sign up for the ACT plus writing, please and thank you. I will sleep better knowing that they did not get your money, you know what I mean? Anyway, December, February, April, and then maybe June and July are the dates that are remaining for your senior to take the ACT, depending on what it is that they're doing. And then also watch your emails for those ACT boot camps, and let me tell you something, these seniors do not want to invest in these homeroom tasks on average. Stay on them about investing in their homeroom tasks if they're still prepping for their ACT, especially on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the Wednesday stuff is excellent too, but for a different reason, right? Like I said, I'm going to be around. I love your kids. I'm happy to help y'all out. You just let me know if you have any questions, all right? Woohoo!
I knew the moment that I stopped speaking that there was at least one thing that I was forgetting, and lo and behold, sure enough, as he was talking, I did think of them. Another one of the questions that students and parents are asking a lot right now, especially as you're applying and things like that, about grade point average. When will that change? Your student, even though the 9 weeks is ending this week, This 9 weeks doesn't change their grade point average at this point in time. Their grade point average will not change again until December. So whatever their final junior year GPA is the GPA that they're applying with. And then the other piece that I thought to mention was tomorrow when they take the ACT, I believe they're given the option to list 3 or 4 schools that they want their scores sent to. I would suggest going ahead and any schools that they are interested in, having them go ahead and send those scores. ACT has now upped the price. They charge you $18 per score report to individual schools. So I literally could sit here all night and share with you my personal thoughts on that, but I won't because Ms. Lyons said you're not talking. So have your students write down the names of the school, literally as they're on their way out the door. Be like, don't forget to listen. So just do that. Also, we'll be around for a few minutes if anyone has any questions. And here's Ms. Lyons.
So it's an exciting year for them. We're super excited. It'll go by really fast. So enjoy all the moments that we have left. And we'll help you along the way. It's a stressful year. So if your student kind of gets into a position where they're stressed or you're stressed, we've got lots of support. So just email, call. There's no question that's silly or ridiculous. We've heard them all. And we have lots, actually, of our staff members that have seniors this year, so we're going through it alongside you. But there will be moments that they're having some meltdowns. Some of them already started, which is kind of early, but it's okay. We're embracing them. So please reach out. They have to complete all credits, all things by that May 26th date. So if your student is a little bit behind, don't be too stressed, but let's get a little hurry in their steps. So I know Mr. Moore has probably communicated with a few of you, is getting them in and making sure they're getting things made up that need to be made up. We want to award all 400 students a diploma on May 26th. We've had a very successful run at that since we opened this building. We'll continue. There might be times if your student falls a little bit behind, I may show up at your doorstep just to make sure they're coming. So we will do that. You just have to communicate with us if they're starting to have that little meltdown and need some support. Just email, hey, just don't let them know I called you, but can you check in with so-and-so? We're happy to do that. They're great kids. They're off to a wonderful start. I've loved seeing them at all the activities. They seem to have really supported each other and everything that's been already happening. And looking forward to a great indie week, right?